We call that. One
I
one
don't even think I
last thing
ever
I
knew it.
wanted to ask you folks about was it's very interesting because you've heard mixed thoughts about this, but as some of you may know, Pfizer has struck a deal to sell drugs directly, getting out the middleman. And as you may recall, Mark Cuban has a service where he
Cost plus drugs.
website, yeah, where it's just 15%. He posts the cost, so you have the transparency, and I think he charges $5 for shipping, processing, whatever. But it's amazing how much cheaper they are than if you went to your Walgreens and CVS. And I'd like to get your thoughts on this because I think overall it's a positive because the consumer wins. And if you look at drug prices here versus vis-a-vis the rest of the world, they're definitely higher. But also you need to have big pharma incentivized to keep developing the blockbuster drugs. So when I hear people say, "Oh, well, look how cheap they are in these other countries," well, they don't have big pharma. They're using our drugs that big pharma develops. So, what do you folks think about this? Because I think you can make arguments on both sides. Why don't we start with you, Ashley?
I actually think this is a pretty big deal. And maybe I do a lot in the pharmaceutical space, but also because the middleman, so to speak, of the pharmaceutical industry, the PBMs, we've been trying to legislate them into transparency for 20 years, really since the EpiPen happened. You guys remember the EpiPen issue? And no one's been able to pass laws on it because of just the lobby on both sides. And so I feel that this is something that it shows the private sector kind of, for the most part, figured this out themselves with some people like Mark Cuban. Mark Cuban's done it, Amazon's done it. But what the Pfizer deal was this week, really, which was important, is this was for Medicare and Medicaid. And so, one thing the president has been saying all along, which you're right, is why do we pay more than our other countries and, the most favored nations policy? And so, it does kinda get to this in some ways without undermining. I mean, I think that this is why Pfizer agreed to it, because it doesn't undermine the integrity of everywhere they sell, but for a lot of it with Medicare and Medicaid. I just think it's very interesting. I think it's a tipping point, and I haven't looked, but I would think that the PBM stocks have all gone down.
Yeah. Well, I think Big Pharma was kind of blindsided by this. They did not think that a deal would be made. And
The
it
rest of
kind of
them, the rest
yeah,
of
they kind of
everyone
had their
but
heads in the sand here
yeah.
on this. And then when they woke up and saw, oh, they made a deal, I think that it really shook them to the core and could have a transformational effect in the long run on pharmaceutical drug pricing in America. So I mean, I think it's a win for the consumer.
Mhm.
I think that as we have seen over time, like these guys will make their money. Like they're not hurting for money ever. And so I'm not really too worried about their bottom lines being impacted by this one way or the other. But I do think it is kind of a preview of like, yeah, this is where the marketplace is going anyway. And viable alternatives have been populating, like I said, in Amazon and what Mark Cuban has done. That's where it's going. I mean, we are more and more going direct to consumer in so many spaces now across consumer products land that's going to only continue. And frankly, even with the advent of AI, like our exposure to doctors is going to be limited because we are going to start using AI tools to tell us what medication do we need. These are my symptoms. Let me submit this, put my finger here on this test that will transmit digitally, and you will tell me what drug I need, and I will now go and directly order it without ever having to step foot in the pharmacy.
You can do that now with your eyes for your glasses. You can just take pictures, and I'm like, "Oh, I love that because I don't like the eye doctor."
Yeah, I'm with you. I'm with you. All right, folks. On that note, I think we'll have to leave it there. But thanks to all of you for joining us once again on Practically Political. It's so good to have you. And we will see you next time. So, for my partners in crime, this is Dave Spencer. Thanks so much.